What's up, guys? In this video, I want to talk about a few things. One is that this is going to be my very first time ever voting. Two is the whole story behind it, because I was very not political and I didn't really care for this stuff and I didn't think I was going to vote, and why I got led up to this. Third, my huge outrage and just like shock at what's occurred so far. And then fourth, why voting is so important. And I didn't know this before, but that's very, it's huge. Just a privilege to vote. And five, why I think even just one vote will matter nowadays. So those are the main things. I'll be talking about other stuff too. So let's just jump right into it. Yes, number one, this will be my very first time ever voting for president. Yay, yay, yay. It's actually pretty awesome, which I will cover later on, as I mentioned, and why it's such a privilege and why it's so cool. But more so than that, let's just talk about the second point, which is the shock, the craziness that's going on, and why I think it's so crazy, and why I still think, there's something that can be done about this. Here's why I think it's crazy. If you want to boil it down to its core, I am just so shocked at what's occurred, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to vote. And that's because I still cannot believe, I can believe that Donald Trump stood out, but I cannot believe how many people support this guy. And let's not even get too political and talk about him as a candidate, but just some of the claims that he's made. I'm still shocked how much of America is still blatantly racist and proud of it, blatantly, just want, have very simplistic views on, complex topics like, oh, all these people are terrorists, or oh, all these Mexicans, all these Hispanics are Mexicans, and we got to build a wall, and we will make them pay for it, and it'll be so simple. I am still amazed that so many people will buy into this type of simplistic, thinking. And, it's strange. If it's that easy for Donald Trump to convince these people, how come the world has not just been manipulated to death? And how come, we can't just go around mind controlling people? Because if it's that simple for him, it doesn't make sense. Like, if it's that simple for him, why can't it be so simple for me or you to do the same thing and go into a bank and rob it or something like that? Not saying that's what we should do, but I'm just like, how do so many people believe in such ridiculous claims? And he said some really ridiculous stuff that just shows his arrogance. And this is not an attack on him, but he's just said some stuff that's just like ridiculous. And you know this, we know this. Even to this day, he's just saying ridiculous, crazy stuff. The other day he said that he's made tons of sacrifices, and it was just like I didn't send my family to go fight in the army and die, but I did work hard on my business, and I got a small loan of $1 million from my father. So the point is, it's really ridiculous what he's saying. And Warren Buffett, one of the top businessmen, came forward recently, and he said that the only other time that Donald Trump has stepped up and said to the public, "Join me," was when he opened up his company as a stock, which was humbly named after his initials, DJT, and that stock ended up dropping to 10% of its value before closing out over the many years to follow. And while that occurred, he took out over $48 million in compensation for himself. So it was pretty much a bit of a Ponzi scam. But the point is, this guy's failed at a lot of businesses, and it's just, the whole thing's a mess. Again, this video is not to just like slam on this guy, but I'm just so shocked that so many people believe so many of his points. Now, I still have a lot of faith in America, and a lot of people out there, I think, are smarter than that. And what's interesting is a lot of successful people have come out and repeated that phrase. Barack Obama said this, and others have said this. They've said, I have a lot of faith in America that they will do the right thing. Yet it's still staggering how many, millions of people apparently don't. And so that's just very interesting to me. Again, not saying he's a completely bad person, but there are certain points I'm just blown away at. Now, let's move on to the other parts of this video. So why can one vote matter? Well, the answer is that predictions and scenarios and a lot of plans and I would say pretty much predictions have been made, and it's pretty clear that this election might be a very close one. And so that was one of the reasons why I never thought I would vote, because I didn't think it would matter at all. I mean, what's one vote going to do? But then I realized how it can matter when it gets so close. In fact, some people are saying that this will be the highest voter turnout in history, and it will also be the one that is, one of the closest, which again blows my mind because I'm still like shocked that this would occur, that so many people would vote for Trump. But nonetheless, it's just very interesting how important it is. And, it's a very publicized vote, probably because of how both candidates are using social media, trying to be cool, trying to get the young people to vote, and also just being the characters that they are. It's really, getting people to come out. And honestly, a lot of people view this election as a bit of a joke because of what's occurred. So that's also very interesting. And, it's still kind of misunderstood why voting is such a privilege. And this always happens with anything that's taken for granted or that's not explained to them. A lot of the rights that we have, we take for granted. And it's partially not our fault because we're kind of just born into this world and not really told or emphasized about them. But the truth of the matter is they were not something that was just given to anyone. Thousands of people died for these rights in civil wars and other wars. And on top of that, they were fought for. And there's a great story I recently learned to illustrate this. Back when African Americans were finally given the right to vote, this one man woke up bright and early, like at 3 a.m. And back then there weren't cars or anything like that. So he walked miles and miles to get to the voting station. And when he got there, they said, sorry, it's too late, we closed. So he walked to another one for miles and miles in his best suit because he cherished this so much. He was finally given the right to vote. And that one turned him down because they also said, we're full. So he went the whole day doing this until the sun set, and he went to the last station and they told him the same thing. So he ended up spending the whole day walking from place to place to place until he got to the last one and they rejected him. So even though he woke up bright and early, he could not vote. That's how much he cherished voting. In his best suit too. He walked miles and miles. So that wasn't really that long ago. I mean, if you look at history, compared to the history of mankind, which is tens of thousands of years old, this happened just a couple decades ago. That's only like 30, 40 years. And women, which was half of our society, half of our potential, were not given the right to vote either until fairly recently, which blows my mind. And I think will really unleash the potential of our country, as well as really change how voting and elections will turn out, because we have this whole other party rising up who are now our equals and sometimes even more successful than us that will be voting. And so that's really huge as well. Now let's talk about, here's where it gets even more interesting. Let's talk about uh, why you should really consider voting if you can, and why this is a very pressing election. Because, I mean, a lot of other uh, celebrities from other countries, whether they're actresses, actors, politicians, people uh, from other countries, they're very alarmed about this election, and they're really hoping that the right thing is done. Because again, uh, some people are saying that if Trump gets elected, he'll do some really unpredictable stuff and just destroy what's going on, and maybe just let loose a bunch of atomic bombs or something crazy like that. And whatever the case, they can't vote. I mean, there's plenty of people out there, you know, even billions, who are looking at this anxiously, and they can't do a thing, even if they wanted to, because they can't vote themselves. What they can do is maybe influence or convince their following or friends or family or someone who they know, who knows someone who can vote, to vote in a certain way. But most of them, they can't do a thing because they're not eligible to vote. So you can see how important this is, and it's a very pivotal moment, because the US is still a superpower, and it can really change a lot of things. Will it like destroy the world? Probably not, but it's still fairly important. And when you look at other countries, whether it's Britain or China or Australia, you can kind of tell that not everyone is dumb, and that is what's really, like, it warms my heart, because a lot of people are intelligent, and they can clearly see that there's just something ridiculous about what Trump's doing, how he's viewing things, how extremist he's doing things, and they know it's not right. So it warms my heart to know that not everyone is just like completely mind washed by this guy. And unfortunately, a lot of people are. And I'm just still shocked how many people, uh, you know, follow this guy. And so it just blows my mind still. But there's clearly people out there who understand this. And let's just conclude by saying that I'm going to vote for my very first time for president. I never thought I would, because I didn't think one vote would matter, and I wasn't much into politics. But in honesty, I realized how important this was. I realized my vote would matter, and I realized that this can make a huge impact on how the world progresses if the wrong person is chosen. And finally, I'm shocked how many people, have been brainwashed, or not even brainwashed, but agree with Trump's, certain perspectives, his clear racism, all that stuff. I'm just amazed how many people in this day and age still follow concepts like that, and will, boldly proclaim it. And I thought that the modern world was better than that, but I guess a lot of people are not like that. But, and this is the most final and important point, like others out there, I do think that despite that, there's plenty of smart, rational people out there that we have to put our faith into to make the right decision, who know that some of Trump's stuff is straight up insane. So that's all I got to say in a nutshell. Thanks for watching. And it's an exciting time, because voting is a privilege. And I'm still amazed at how far this country has come in just a couple hundred years, it's literally just like 3 or 4 generations. Literally 100 years ago, people were literally, riding horses, and they literally were fighting and killing each other, and there's war and cannons. And I still cannot believe how fast the world is progressing, and it's just going to get faster. And it's not a bad place. You know, there are bad people, there are, you know, unfortunate, tragic events, but there's also a lot of good. There's a lot of innovation, change, improvement, and hopefully we keep trending in that direction. Thanks for watching.